Hello, everybody. Jimmy Smith here of the Wine with Jimmy channel. Thank you for stopping by. So, this is a wine channel dedicated to all things vinous. Welcome here to a series on the wonderful Romagna part of Italy. So, this is going to be a lovely free series for everybody to enjoy, really getting to grips with this kind of forgotten part of Italy. It's an area which is not so well known outside of Italy itself. So I'll go through all those details for you. If you do have any comments or questions, please do get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. Have you been before? Are you planning to go? You'll find in these presentations many things you need to know about visiting the region and, of course, how to enjoy the really lovely wines of the area. So let's have a look. Wonderful architecture. There's Faenza, which is a beautiful part of Romagna. Here is your series. So it's a 5-part series to really cover the whole of this wine region. So I'm going to go through in this first video the introduction, climate, geology, and grape growing. Then in future videos, I'll go through key specific DOCGs, that's a wine area such as Albana, and then also Romane Sangiovese DOC and its key subzones, and then finishing on some of the recent vintage assessments. The area is really quite spectacular. If you do have a chance to visit, you're more likely to fly into Bologna, which is, of course, a fantastic city, often called the Red City because of its gorgeous red roofs that you'll find across the whole city. Do look out for the things like the Ducati Museum, lots of great motor sports around here, of course, with Imola, but also the Ducati Museum, which is in Bologna. You'll find the Ferrari Museum, which is located in Maranello near Modena. So, of course, one of the most iconic car manufacturers in Italy. It's quite well known for the Ravenna mosaics as well. That city is beautiful and it has these stunning Byzantine mosaics, which are really found in some spectacular architectural churches and also monuments. There's great food as well. Parmesan is quite famous from here, moreover in Emilia. But also balsamic vinegar production around Modena as well, which is more in the Emilia area. But of course, you'll find it very much throughout Romagna as well. So here is your location for the wine region. Now, Romagna has about 28,000 hectares of vines, and that's fairly substantial. So this is the equivalent, really, of about Burgundy in France, and about half the size of the Loire Valley in France. So there's quite a lot of significance of production here in this region. In 2023, the total production was around 1 million bottles. It's just shy of that and normally sits around that number. Your productions here, then, the coloured area on your map is in fact the viticultural area. So to give you an idea of the location, you'll see towards the top of your map is the city of Bologna, where you're likely to fly into in a very small airport, but it serves the area. You then head down the Via Emilia, which is the main road, towards Imola, and that's when you head into the Romagna vineyards, because the other side, which is shaded around Bologna and then going up towards the northwest, is the Emilia part. So Emilia and then Romagna. So we're only looking at this southeasterly section, Romagna. It holds one DOCG. And that, in fact, is the area which is covered by the stripes in the middle of your map. That is Romagna Albana. There are 5 DOCs, which I will go through a little bit later, 4 IGTs, which are larger wine areas. And in terms of producers here, we have 120 in total. And that includes 108 wine producers, 4 bottlers, and 8 cooperatives. We have around 5,200 grape growers in the area. Just so you have a little bit of culture about the wonderful architecture that you can see and the key locations. So, first of all, there is the city of Imola. So, if you do fly into Bologna and start to head down to the southeast, you will come to Imola. So, this is a city and a commune, and it's in the metropolitan city area of Bologna, and it's located on the river San Terno. It's traditionally considered the western entrance to the historical area of Romagna. So one could say that it is the gateway between Emilia and Romagna. The city is very well known for the Autodromo Enzo Idino Ferrari, which hosts the Formula One Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, of course, and it formerly hosted the San Marino Grand Prix, which rather infamously, of course, is well known for Ayrton Senna crashing and dying during the 1994 Grand Prix. The picture you see here is of the Sforza Castle. It's built under the reign of Girolamo Riaro and Caterina Sforza. It now houses the Cinema d'Estate, which shows films throughout July and August. Also, it's the location of the world-famous International Piano Academy, and rather spectacular too. Next up is Faenza. So it's only around 60,000 people. It's at the foot of the first sub-Apennine hills, and it's surrounded, of course, by an agricultural region, which includes rather key vineyards. The land here kind of traces its roots back to the ancient Roman land division system and the fertile market gardens in the plains. Now, according to mythology, the name of the first settlement, which is Faentia, had Etruscan and Celtic roots, and meaning, in Latin, splendio inter deos, meaning I shine among the gods. So, of course, rather a spectacular location. Cesena as well is next. So this is a beautiful place which is located now down towards the coast, and that is your Piazza del Popolo in Cesena. We then have Rimini. So this is along the Adriatic Sea. It's situated at a strategically important north-south passage along the coast at the southern tip of Italy's largest river as it meets the Adriatic. That's the Po River. It's larger. This is about 150,000 people. And it's one of the most notable seaside resorts in Europe with a significant domestic and international tourist economy. You'll find a focus on bathing, spas, and wellness in Rimini. Now, the ancient Romans founded this settlement. They called it Ariminum in 268 BC. And of course, that's where Rimini's etymology comes from today. There's the famous Ark of Augustus and the Ponte di Tiberio, which is actually called the Ponte of Augustus, as it started being built in the Augustus reign and finished in Tiberius. Now, during the Renaissance, the city benefited from the court of the House of Malatesta, hosting artists, of course, from Tuscany like Leonardo da Vinci and producing the Tempio Malatestiano. In the 19th century, also lots of a focus here for Italian unification, which eventually came through in 1860, 1861. So now moving on to more sort of climatic and geology, so we get a good sense of the landscape in order to talk then about wine production. The picture here is of some typical Romagna vineyards. The general climate here would be considered Mediterranean, though, of course, when you start to go inland up the main road of the Via Emilia and head towards places like Faenza, Imola, and also Forli, you'll find that you become more semi-continental in those landscapes where you start to get a little bit more of a increased rainfall, but also that increased diurnal range. Now, rainfall per year ranges from about 645 millimeters on the coast in places like Rimini, up to about 750 millimeters when you head towards Forli, Faenza, and Bologna. So there's an increase of about 100 millimeters per year as you head up, sort of up the Via Emilia, but also going towards the Apennines a little bit more. Now, a little bit on the landscape here as well, talking about the geology. Italy has a remarkable complex geology. We will find a lot of seismic activity here, so the whole Apennine range and also the Alps very much will have lots of tremors and earthquakes because of the activity here. And we find volcanic soils dotted around the landscape. But we're going to be focusing on a kind of eras which are quite a long time ago. We're going to talk about the Miocene and the Pliocene epochs. It's what you actually see on your maps there, on your pictures. So both of these eras submerged many parts of the northeast, the Po River Basin, which is pretty much what you see in blue on the Miocene map on the left-hand side. It's the largest water network and the longest river in the whole of Italy, but also then many parts of west coast of your Italy. So you can see the outline in orange there is in fact the outline of Italy. And you'll see a lot of that was covered at this time. So these epochs run a long time ago. We're talking sort of 5,332 million years ago to around 2,588 million years ago. The Adriatic Sea and the Po Plain are two parts, therefore, of the same sedimentary basin. The Po Basin, developed in front of the Apennine chain from the upper middle Pliocene, was about 3.5 million years ago, finally. Sand and clay were deposited at those times, and the continuous accumulation of new sediment over geological time, whilst the oldest sediment gradually sank to increasing depth. So you have more solid bedrock and, of course, alternating layers of things like sandstone, clay, and, of course, calcareous limestone as well. So that's, of course, very important across our region, like it is in the Po Basin as well. So let's talk about those soils. We have reddish soils to begin with, typically around the main road, the Via Emilia, which is a very important road which goes right through Emilia and Romagna, especially around the villages of Dozza, which is a beautiful mountain village, Imola, and Faenza that we mentioned earlier. So these are soils that are derived from clay, but they are rich in oxidizing iron, hence why they have this kind of reddish color to them. But they are poorer in limestone. Brownish soils are next. These are north of the Via Emilia, that main road dissecting the region. Fertile clay, often quite deep, and poor in limestone. You'll typically get quite fruity wines coming from these areas. Then we have light blue clays. Doesn't look so blue in this picture, but they are a little bit of a different colour. Now, there's a ridge that runs parallel to the Via Emilia from Bologna to Rimini, and that's where you get these bluish and grey clays from the Pliocene epoch. They're rich in limestone and sodium, and you get very powerful concentrated wines from these types of soils. Then a very important type of soil. These are the fossilized ochre limestone soils. They're close to ridge of erosion furrows, predominantly in the Forli and Cesena area. Yellow sand and clay of Pliocene epoch as well, and they're rich in marine origin limestone, typically your kind of fossilized style, as the name would suggest. There's a form of this which is specifically called spongione, as you see here, which basically means a spongy limestone. I'll discuss this a little bit more on either video 2 or 3. We then have our chalky marl soils. That's around the subzones, the sottosorno of Brisighella, Pridappio, Verrucchio, and Germano. So you'll find brown or ochre clay soils. And ochre, by the way, the kind of color of ochre is kind of like a dullish clay color that you'll see in pottery. Now we have a lot of calcium sulfate, and we tend to get quite rich but elegantly tannic structured wines from these types of soils. We then have limestone marls. These are from the higher altitude zones within the Apennines, so typically over 300 meters. These are highly evolved from marine origin sands and clays from the Miocene epoch, a little bit in similarity to our soils of Dover, for example. And you'll find clay here also with pebbles and rocks and stones, and that's actually what you see here. It's not as brilliantly chalky as you would find from the cliffs of Dover or the Normandy cliffs, which are opposite each other across the English Channel. Okay, so that really brings you a sort of an idea of the location, some key places, the general climate, and the geology and grape growing in this area. Next up, we will be talking about the only DOCG of the region, which is a white DOC. In fact, rather controversially, the first white DOC of Italy. So that is the Albana DOCG. If you do have any comments or questions, of course, you know what to do. Please do comment, leave your question below this video. Make sure you click like and subscribe. But I would love to hear from you about your experiences in this region. Maybe you just love going for motorsports, maybe for the architecture, maybe for the gastronomy, hospitality, and wine. But whatever, please do get in touch. I've been Jimmy Smith. Ciao for now. Goodbye.